Welcome to my video blog. In this blog, I'm going to discuss the interaction between environment and posture, as well as the interaction between culture and movement. There's a huge interaction between posture and the environment that we live in, and this can be seen in a lot of different ways. Living in Wisconsin, I've noticed even through our different seasons that my posture changes. For example, in the winter, when I go outside and it's really cold out, I tend to kind of hunch down a little bit more than in the summer. When it's nice and warm, I tend to spread out more to cool myself off. Many exhibits at the Milwaukee Public Museum depicted people in different postures, in different environments, but the one that really caught my attention was an exhibit depicting the Inuit people and how their environment affects their posture. I noticed was they had very heavy clothing on, and so their posture was more hunched over than people who wore less clothing in warmer climates. So this more hunched over or kyphotic posture could be either because of the clothing that they're wearing, or maybe they're just trying to stay warm. Because when I think about it, when I'm outside for a long time in the cold, I tend to kind of bring my shoulders up more towards my ears and get really stiff in that area. So that could be another reason why. When I looked more into it, I also found out that in their parkas, the women actually had a big place to carry their baby on their back so that they could keep their baby out of the environment and out of the cold and the blizzards to keep them safe. This is a photo I took of one of the exhibits at the museum, and you can kind of see with the woman and the child the more kyphotic hunched over posture, and you can also see the clothing that they wore. So environment also influences what kind of shoes we wear. In the summer, we know that we might wear flip-flops or sandals or maybe tennis shoes, but in the winter, we wear boots and other warmer kinds of footwear. So that's another big influencer of our posture, because depending on how our feet and ankles are on the ground, whether they're pronated or supinated, that can change our whole posture. So the footwear of the Inuit people that I noticed in the Milwaukee Public Museum, they wore shoes called mucklucks, and they were actually made by the skins and hides of the seals, just like their parkas and other clothing, because they were warm and they were waterproof, and so they wouldn't get frostbite on their feet, and they were able to travel and walk on the ice. The one thing that's really similar between us and them was the fact that we wear a lot of warm clothing in the winter, and they do as well. The difference is that we don't have as long of winters, so we don't have to wear that kind of clothing for quite as long as they do. Another thing that I noticed was their posture to keep warm, and I've noticed that in Wisconsin as well, like I said earlier. So people a little bit more hunched over, maybe burying their face in their jacket to keep their face out of the weather or the elements. And in the summer, that's a little bit different, or maybe a little bit more upright, a little bit less of that kyphotic posture, again, like I said. Another thing that I noticed about them that was maybe similar but also a little bit different was that they are, first and foremost, they're hunting people. And I know a lot of people in Wisconsin also like to hunt. And we do that in the winter months, typically a little bit colder months. And so that's what they do as well in the winter, is they hunt to get their food. What they hunt is different, so they do more types of like ice fishing. They hunt seals and different things like that, whereas we do more deer hunting, but we also do ice fishing. We do it in a little bit different way here, though. So their posture when they fish is they would more like lay on the ice and use a spear or something to kill what they're trying to get, where we would use a fishing pole, which gives us more of an upright posture versus a laying down posture. Here's a picture from the exhibit of one of the Inuit men, just showing how that they hunted and fished in the winter. You can see that's a little bit different than how we do it here in Wisconsin today. Next, I want to discuss the influence of culture on movement. Culture has always had a big influence on the way that we move. This is often seen in different styles of dance and even the ways that different people walk. So one big way that people can show their culture even is through movement, and that's through dance. And one of the exhibits at the Milwaukee Public Museum I saw that in was the big rotating table of the different Native American people doing different kinds of dance at one of their parties or ceremonies. One major component of culture is music, And different cultures use different kinds of instruments to create different kinds of music, which then in turn, the style of dance that they would do to that kind of music would be different than a different culture that uses a different kind of instrument. So, for example, a Native American style of dance is going to be a lot different with all the different drums that they use at their dances than maybe a ballet dancer would use, since they dance to more types of classical and piano music without a lot of drums. Another way that I saw culture influencing music through dance was at the museum in the exhibit about the Hmong culture. And their dances are a little bit different because of the kinds of music they play as well, and also the clothing that they wear. They have a lot of different kinds of coins and beads on their clothing that they want to make a certain sound when they dance. So they do different kinds of music in order to make that a part of their dance. So like I said, dance is a big part of culture, and different cultures that do different kinds of dances actually wear different footwear as well. So when you think about ballroom dancing in that culture, women that do ballroom dancing wear high heels. And that's going to have a different type of movement than somebody who's dancing with bare feet. One main difference between the Native Americans and the Native American exhibit I looked at the museum and my own culture was that dance was a crucial part of their culture and their life. They have a lot of religious ceremonies and festivals that are centered around dance that they do. So something that I found in common or similar to the Native Americans at the exhibit that I looked at was that they like to dance at their weddings or their marriage ceremonies, and I thought that was really similar because in my culture that's something that I like to do as well. So overall, reflecting back at going to the museum and doing this video blog, the main thing that I took away from this is that when looking at a patient's or a person's posture or how they move, it's important to consider not just the biomechanical aspects, but it's also important to look at their culture and their environment and how that's going to influence their posture and their movement.